This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
It is showtime. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to a massive edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you, coming off a massive win for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, I'm sure get into some other hyperbole and call it many different things, but that was a performance that this team, this fan base, this city, this province needed, and they did it facing some big-time adversity, losing star center Mark Scheifele for the second and third period after a very, very sketchy hit from Braden Shen. And, already without Nikolai Ehlers, Mark Scheifele leaves. It did not look good at the time, but, man, what a performance by literally everybody wearing that jersey last night to step up, get back to their identity, and shut the St. Louis Blues down and get that crucial Game 5 win, and now one win away from moving on to the second round. It is not going to be easy, though. The teams head back to St. Louis today. And as we'll get to with our guest today, Joe Pascucci, Ken Wiebe, Connor Hrabchak's going to jump on with us as well a little bit later on. Bad news for the Winnipeg Jets. Mark Scheifele not traveling with the team to St. Louis for Game 6. On a positive note, Nikolai Ehlers is. I mean, I still am not expecting Nikolai Ehlers to play. But as we'll hear from Scott Arniel a little bit later on, did not say whether he'd be out of the non-contact jersey. So some good news, I guess, on Nikolai Ehlers potentially being just around the corner at some point. But the Winnipeg Jets are going to need to find a way to beat the St. Louis Blues in Game 6 if they want to avoid Game 7 and do it without their most important offensive player in Mark Scheifele. We've got so much to unpack from last night's game, and we will be doing that over the course of the next couple hours. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. The chat's already going off today. I can't say that I'm surprised. We'll get to your fan feedback a little bit later on and chop it up with all of our guests all about the game last night and where this series goes from here. We'll hear from two very heated coaches after the game last night, as well as a number of the players that stepped up in the Jets' victory. Listen, we're going to get Remis in here. We'll get to some of the audio. As I mentioned, Scooch is going to come on. We'll look forward to talking to him about what he saw last night and where this series is at. And then we'll really dive into it with Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press a little bit later on, and then Connor as well. Just before we bring in Remo, a huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada. Cannot wait for what's to come with their friends at Coolbet. Of course, Princess Auto, KFC, Prairie Toyota Dealers, Ben Moss, Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Manitoba Battery and Canadian Club, Let's Do It Travel, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, and great to have the Gold Eyes back and Assiniboia Downs back. Big seasons coming up for both the fish and live racing out at Assiniboia Downs. Cannot wait for that. Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, and Royal Sports, Breezy Bend. We'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. And, of course, fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. Welcome to everybody in chat. I see a lot of excited Jet fans, a lot of pissed off fans as well, considering what happened last night to Mark Scheifele. And, of course, shout out to all you podcast listeners making us a part of your day. Let's get her going. Michael Remis joins me now. And, Reem, a real sense of relief, I would say, I think, amongst many fans that were watching the game yesterday. The stakes were so high. We said this was going to be the biggest gut check. And as Murat said, it was a gut check 3 years in the making. And when you add in everything that happened last night, just a phenomenal performance by so many individuals that the Jets really needed to lean on. And they got the job done, bottom line, and they move on to St. Louis, 1 win away from moving on to round 2.
Yeah, that game had some serious intensity between both teams, and you felt like the Winnipeg Jets knew that it was, in fact, a gut check 3 years in the making, as we've been talking about on the show. They were able to stick to their game for a full 60 minutes and get the win, the first win after a loss in the playoffs since 2019, and it was an incredible performance top to bottom. The players who we said needed to step up, like secondary scoring, Vlad Nemestikov, even in a top-line role, Nino Niederreiter, Mason Appleton. These guys certainly stepped up and got on the score sheet. And, Connor Hellebuyck may not have had his best game, but he made big saves at key times. And when you score, 5 goals, you don't have to do a lot to win when you're the Winnipeg Jets. So credit to them, and really, really impressive performance. And it's kind of sad that it's overshadowed by the Mark Scheifele injury and now the lack of discipline from the league on the head. And I felt like officiating was a story throughout the game, especially with that hit, that they only called an interference and a roughing and not a major. So I'm sure, I don't know if there's going to be carryover or what, but we did hear today that Scheifele will not be traveling to St. Louis. So we'll see how the team responds in Game 6 without their number one center. But, what a performance it was last night. And shout out to everyone at Canada Life Center who brought it for the entire game. It was fired up in there. Late start. It was a great night out for sure.
I can't say enough about the fans. We talked yesterday about, showing up at that building, believing in the team that they were better than what they'd shown in game number 3 and 4, and could put together a performance that they could be proud of and that could get the job done. And that's exactly what happened. I don't think anyone could have imagined how it was all going to go down. And listen, this Scheifele hit by Braden Shen was one of, a number of borderline hits in this series. And we're going to get to Scott Arniel, who was hot afterwards, as you can imagine, not only at what happened, but at what Jim Montgomery had to say afterwards. And listen, we're getting some good coach back and forth between these two as the tensions and the stakes rise throughout the series. But there's no other way to put it. That's a bullshit hit. And it's dangerous. It's predatory. And I understood why Scott Arniel felt the way that he did. And for Jim Montgomery afterwards, to let everyone know, that's not when he got hurt. It was on the Faxa hit. How the hell does he know? I think we know enough about head injuries and concussions to know that, sometimes things show themselves later on. And that is really what happened last night. Now, listen, did he get rocked by Faxa on that hit? Absolutely. But Remis, me personally, I was stunned that Scheifele didn't get pulled from the game immediately after the Shen hit by a concussion spotter. He obviously said he was fine. He was able to continue to play for a little while. But man, when that Faxa hit happened, if you recall, the puck was in the zone, clearly offside, and Scheifele got up. And he ended up going all the way into the zone, sort of chasing after the puck when the linesman's arm was up. And I said to the guys that I was sitting with, this is bad, guys. Like, I think Mark Scheifele might be concussed or something. Immediately in that moment. Because, Scheifele is so aware of the puck and, the situation in the game. It was obvious, it was clear to me at least, that something was not right with him. The fact that he would be in on a forecheck on an obvious offside, then, unfortunately, the fears were proven correct as he did not come back for the second period, didn't return to the game. Listen, Remis, this has been a very, very tough physical series. It has been on the line. It has been over the line at times. Braden Shen, I think, you ask anyone here north of the border, they'll tell you that was a BS hit, something that the league does not want to have as part of playoff hockey, and yet absolutely no supplemental discipline, which will, I think, anger Scott Arniel and Jets management even more. But they found a way to win, and there are so many guys that had a hand in it, needing to step up when Mark Scheifele was out for the last 40 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and to answer the question, why was he still in the game? I think when you do have a head injury, I think at first you might be in denial, saying, no, I can play through this. And I remember that delayed offside thinking, he was probably just so angry about the Faxa hit that he just didn't care about going offside. It was a strange play when you look at that, and he ran into Faxa.
He just seemed off on that.
Yeah.
Wait a second, what's he doing? That is not Mark Scheifele, and unfortunately, all of those fears proved correct.
And I think with supplemental discipline, I said after the game that I didn't think they would. That doesn't mean that I think that they should. And when you look at Braden Shen, he does have a history. I mean, going back to 2016, 9 years ago, he got suspended 3 games for a similar hit on TJ Oshie, where he jumped up and into Oshie's head. I don't know if the head contact was as clear with Mark Scheifele, but I mean, it was an unsuspecting player. You can very clearly see him stopping and launching upwards. And I thought that is the type of hit they're trying to get rid of. And for him to get suspended 3 games back in 2016 for a similar hit where Oshie did finish the game, and to get not even a hearing for a hit that injured a player, and after you've seen Barkov take an interference hit that was suspended for. So that was 1 game. I'm not really too sure what the difference here. I did have people in the comments saying, the difference is Scheifele's in a Winnipeg Jets jersey, and we've seen how the league treats Jets players when it comes to supplemental discipline. You do wonder, Hustler, that if that was a hit on Austin Matthews or on some other team, if there would be hearing, because it does seem like more often than not the Jets get the short end of the stick when it comes to supplemental discipline.
It's hard not to feel that way. I mean, Scheifele made an example of in the playoff series against Montreal, when we see some of the other things that get a game or 2, and then, in a number of cases, but this probably the most glaring and most egregious considering the stakes and the attention on this series and last night's game. For Shen to do that. And listen, this, we're going to hear from Scott Arniel in just a minute. I mean, this isn't really an isolated incident. And, I love the fact that, who was the listener that sent that in, by the way, that email on it?
It was right before we started the show. Scott emailed in and he said, I really enjoy all the coverage from you and Hustler. Keep up the great work. If you have a couple seconds, look up Braden Shen suspensions. The guy has been doing this for a while. He's a predator, doesn't know how to properly deliver a body check. It's frustrating when people refer to him as a heart and soul guy. I'm thinking a better comparable is Rafi Torres. Sorry for the vent. Now I feel better. Shout out to Scott for emailing us through our website before the show. And I looked it up, and I can't really show highlights here. And it's interesting that, we'll play the clip in a second, that Scott Arniel said they had talked to the league about, leaving your feet on hits, and he wouldn't disclose what their conversations were like. And for them, for it to happen in this game to the Jets' number 1 center, and, he leaves the game, unfortunate. And you want the league to take care of this type of stuff. And I don't know, they seem to pick and choose their spots.
The temperature was already hot. It has risen even to extreme levels coming out of last night's game. Just seeing some of the chat going on right now. No surprise, a lot of angry Jet fans right now. And that being said, everyone was in pretty good spirits leaving the building last night after such an important win and such an impressive win considering the circumstances. I mean, we'll get into this with our guests coming up, but I mean, Remo, I don't know we can say about Vlad Nemestikov. I mean, this guy was taking a lot of heat. He was already playing probably up in the lineup beyond where you would normally have him slotted. We know what happened with Brock Nelson in the search for a second-line center at the trade deadline that didn't go the Jets' way. And the loss of Nikolai Ehlers had really taken the offensive pop out of that line. And then for Vlad to move up playing with Kyle Connor and Gabe Vilardi, who I thought both had real strong games, to score. I still can't believe that the second one didn't go in after he beautifully deked out Jordan Binnington and had a wide open net. But a major, major impact from him. And I thought a number of guys stepped up in a big way. Neil Pionk, Dylan Sandberg. And after a pretty shaky start, I thought, for Dylan DeMello and Josh Morrissey, particularly the shift that led to the Blues tying goal early in the first period after the Jets had the early lead. I thought both of those guys stepped up. DeMello in particular, with really, really strong defensive performances. They did a much better job in front of the net, in front of both nets, as opposed to what we saw in Game 3 and Game 4. And they were a real problem for the St. Louis Blues in the neutral zone all night. So, listen, there's so much to be happy about from last night's game, but there is a little bit of a cloud over the team as they go wheels up to St. Louis with the injury to Mark Scheifele. Listen, we're going to hear from, if you missed the coach's comments afterwards, you're definitely going to want to hear that. We'll get to that in just a minute. First, though, need to thank our friends at Rolly's Transfer for their great support of WST. Family owned and operated for over 60 years. Rolly's is the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. And if you have a move coming up in the next few months, give them a holler or head over to their website at rollys.com and click on Request an Estimate. Make sure to put the promo code WST in for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies for WST listeners. And then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will get you a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for. For your next move, make it Rolly's, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollys.com. Hey, a lot of smiles after the game, a lot of smiles on the streets today, despite the angst about Mark Scheifele's situation. No one makes your smile look better than Dr. Terry and the gang down at St. Patel Dental Center. Actually just got a text from Terry that they just saw another WST listener today who made a point of thanking them for their support of us. Listen, they've been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans at St. Patel Dental, but now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and free parking conveniently located right behind the building. They can take care of all your dental needs, from simple things like cleanings and checkups, fillings, all the way to more extensive procedures like dental implants. You can find out more on everything that St. Patel Dental Center has going on online, stpateldental.ca. Tell Dr. Terry and the gang that the boys at WST sent you. There was a lot of people that needed a drink after that game last night. And holy smokes, do we have a weekend coming up. A great weekend to maybe pop by your local Manitoba liquor marts and pick up Canada's favorite iconic Canadian whiskey Canadian Club. And, of course, the new ready-to-drink cocktails that Canadian Club has just launched. It's not just CC and ginger ale this year, folks. Although we've got that, they've also launched the new Citrus Smash and the Canadian Club Half and Half, which is Canadian whiskey along with iced tea and lemonade. Promo on all month long. You can get the 12-pack for less than $28 at your local Manitoba liquor marts. So pick it up today. It's apparently getting up to 27 and sunny on the weekend. So great time to try these out for the first time. And hey, what a spark from the Winnipeg Jets last night. Kind of like what Manitoba Battery has been doing for Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners 12 months a year. They are the power behind so many of the things that get us from where we need to be in the winter. And of course, all the good times in the summer. As you're getting ready to get those boats or ATVs or whatnot ready for the summer, you got to make sure you're powered up. Donnie and the gang have it. And Manitoba Battery is your local option where you'll save money beating the pants off the big box stores and get the best in customer service as well, as they'll deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the city of Winnipeg. Hit them up, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive, 2 locations in town, or simply order and get the best deals in town, and they'll deliver it to you at manitobabattery.com. All right, we've got lots to dive into from last night's game. But I think we should start with the key quotes from the coaches before we dive into the rest of the game. And listen, Jim Montgomery spoke after the game, and he decided to get ahead of things, shall we say, about giving us his diagnosis on Mark Scheifele and when he was hurt. Here's what he had to say on the pre-period conversation with the referees going into period 2.
Well, it happens every game. If the ref wants to talk to the ref, if the one coach wants to talk to the ref before the period starts, he needs to come over and tell the other ref what the complaint was about.
Was it about the Shen hit, or?
It was that, yes, it was about the Shen hit. And let's make it clear. 55 got hurt from the Faxa hit. He played 6 minutes after the Shen hit. He didn't come back after he got rocked by Faxa.
So there was Jim Montgomery's diagnosis of what happened, and this pissed off Scott Arniel, who made it abundantly clear when talking to Ken Wiebe and the rest of the assembled media about that after the game last night. Here was Arnie's response to what he'd heard from Jim Montgomery.
Well, I didn't know Monty got his medical degree. I'm trying to say how our player got hurt. He's way off base. Should not make that comment. There's some things that have been going on in this series, and that was a repeat of what we've seen before. A player leaving his feet and then hitting a player in a very unprotected spot, like hitting them in the sense almost blindsiding them. Not happy how the call was made. 2-minute minor. Not even looking at it is what I was upset about. And it is something that we have talked to the league about for 5 games.
You know, a composed but livid Scott Arniel after the game last night, speaking about that hit. And just here's one more from Arniel just on the conversations with the league that he referred to taking place throughout this series.
I think I have to keep that one to myself, to us. I mean, we communicate after every game. There's some things that happen, and I'm sure that St. Louis has some things that they're complaining about, but there's things that we've noticed that have been going on since game 1, and, you know, that hit is a lot of what we've been talking about.
2, 1.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel. And listen, Arnie's done such a great job with this club this year. I think we've seen his growth as a head coach. And we certainly saw the buy-in, the pushback, whatever you want to call it, from his hockey club last night in some pretty adverse circumstances. And he was composed, although still hot after the game. But man, Reem, I mean, when you look back, obviously I was in the area where I sit. I have a tough time seeing the interactions from the coach to the referee, but rewatching the game afterwards, you just saw Scott Arniel in an absolute rage, and frankly, I think it was completely warranted.
Yeah, Scott Arniel has shown in these press conferences, normally a pretty calm guy, but when it calls for it, he's not afraid to stand up for his players, stand up for his team, and call it how he sees it. And I think if you're a player, you certainly respect the way that he forcefully delivered the message in this post-game press conference, standing up for Mark Scheifele. And he's done it all year. You know, when things aren't going their way, he's not afraid to get angry, get behind the bench. We got into a shouting match, earlier this year with another team's coach. And, I don't know if he's going to get nominated for a Jack Adams or not, but he's showing that he's certainly the right guy to lead this team, Huss. And, again, love how he's standing up and, you know, taking action when necessary.
Yeah, you know, we've got a lot to get to, and we'll kind of pop this stuff in throughout the day, but let's just get some of the rest of Arniel's comments before we bring in Scooch for more on last night's big Game 5 win. This was, I guess, before he got to Montgomery's comments and the hit on Mark Scheifele. This is just Scott O'Neill on the gutsy performance of his club getting a desperately needed win.
Yeah, I thought it was throughout the lineup. It was outstanding. I thought that everybody stepped up. And then, obviously find out that Scheifele wasn't coming back. But even prior to that, I thought we had a great first, and we were physical. We were battling, competing, doing all the things we had to do, to get ourselves going. And just real proud of the way the guys stuck together and just played our game. We got the Jet hockey. We got the Jet hockey early, and we played it for 60 minutes.
All right. And listen, I mean, everyone was wondering about Arnie's thoughts on, the hit, but also just on Mark Scheifele. Here's what he had to say post-game on that.
We'll wait and see here. Obviously, we'll just wait and see where we're at. We'll have to get him, see how he is later tonight, and see tomorrow. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see till tomorrow. I'll find out what's going on. Don't discuss it. We don't discuss injuries especially at this time of year.
All right. Well, the one thing that we knew is Mark Scheifele was unavailable for the second and third period. The Jets were in one, and Vlad Nemetsnikov stepped up with his best game in a long time and his first goal in seemingly forever. Here's what Arnie had to say about Vlad stepping up in the circumstances that they were dealt with last night.
Wow, it was unbelievable. We certainly needed it big time, and that's been our group. Our group has had to step up all year long with injuries, and that was huge for us to go into that role. Not only he's playing on that top line with Gabe and KC, but he's also running into Thomas's line close to every shift. So he's a good pro, and he whatever's been thrown at him, he takes on that challenge and does a fantastic job.
Yeah, it was there was some Vladdy to the rescue last night when the Jets desperately needed it. But I mean, you can go down the list of Winnipeg Jet players that stepped up for an incredibly impressive and much needed team win in the absence of their star center. Now, I know we'll talk about this with Ken and with Joe coming up. The guy that had all the attention and most of the pressure on him going into last night was Connor Hellebuyck. And listen, there is still a much higher level for Helly to get to. And the second goal was, I mean, listen, I haven't had there's been some goals that you would have liked to have had saved early, and God knows we've spent a lot of time talking about that. But up 2-1, for that goal to go in to make it 2-2, that could have really blown it all up. And if that had been the case, that would have been the story today. But if you get past that, some big saves later on when the Blues were pressing, but one save in particular in the first period, which, I mean, as we'll hear from a number of both, Adam Lowry offered it up after the game, a save that could have saved and maybe turned the entire series. 1-1 in the first period, Jets on the power play. They give up a 2-on-1, and the Blues had a wide open net, and Haley runs over, puts the paddle out for an absolutely miraculous save. I don't know whether they didn't have a good shot on it. I still can't believe that was never shown in the building. We had to go to social media in between periods to see it, and you saw people gathering around the phones going, oh my God. And I have to say, Remis, there's a lot of talk about timely saves. That might be the most timely save I've ever seen. If that goes in and the Jets give up a shorthanded goal on that power play and go down 2-1, I'm not sure we're having the same conversation we are today. But it certainly was a game saver, even in the first period. Here's what Arniel had to say about the wild desperation paddle save that Hellebuyck made in the first period.
Yeah, those are special. I mean, obviously changes the game probably if they goes in, but that was a big time moment that yeah, that's a game changer. It really is, and that's what we needed. He said you guys talked to him. I talked to him, and he delivered.
Yeah, he certainly did. And earlier today, kind of funny, this is like, way down the list of topics for the show, was officially named a finalist for the Hart Trophy. So Connor Hellebuyck, finalist for the Vezina Trophy, which he'll likely run away with, and finalist for the Hart, the most valuable player in the National Hockey League, along with Nikita Kucherov of the Lightning and Leon Draisaitl. Scooch is going to join us, but there's a couple quickies from Jim Montgomery. This is not his medical analysis of what happened with Mark Scheifele. This was, after getting beat, stepping up to the microphone and simply saying that they're on to Game 6.
But we're on to the next one. Hey, it's a playoff series. I thought that was their best game. I thought it was our worst game. We're on to the next one. I mean, we can analyze every part of it. They were better. So we're on to the next one.
That is true. The Jets were better in just about every area of the game last night. Here's just Montgomery on where they needed to be better.
Well, we got to be more connected. Like, I just, I didn't think our puck support was good enough. I didn't think we got back quick enough. I didn't think we won our forecheck. We didn't establish it. Like I said, it's every facet. But you know what? It's a series, and it's going to happen. Unfortunately, we're not happy about it, but we're on to the next one. It's as simple as that. We got to forget about it now. We're in a series.
All right, so there's Jim Montgomery hearing from both the coaches. We'll get to more of the Jets a little later on today from the players' side of things from last night's game. But we're going to bring in Joe Pascucci right now. This segment presented by your Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and it's backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. Take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. And can we talk about just how good the Toyota Tundra looks? Anywhere it goes, it is turning heads. Available now from $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrids are available. You can find out more and check out all the amazing features of the Toyota Tundra today by visiting shoptoyota.ca. All right, let's bring in the Scooch and dive into another interesting chapter in this series. Joe Pascucci joins us now on the program. Well, we said that this was a gut check 3 years in the making and dealt with even more adversity, Joe. What a performance by the Jets from top to bottom to find a way to battle through that and beat the St. Louis Blues in a game that had so much on the line and so much pressure on the home team.
Definitely great to be with you and talk about the Jets. And yes, that was a great team victory last night. Very similar to something that happened 40 years ago in that playoff series against the Calgary Flames when Jamie McCowan took out Dale Hrabchak in Game 4 of that series. And then the next night, the Jets, without Hrabchak, but led by Ronnie Wilson and Mark Behrand in goal, who hadn't played in over a month, beat the Flames to win their first playoff series of the 1.0 era. That was a great team effort. Again, going back to last night by the team. They didn't get down, obviously, after the injury to Scheifele. Didn't get down after that second goal allowed by Hellebuyck. They just knuckled down, put their nose to the grindstone and just continued playing Jets hockey, which we'd seen them do this season for most of the season. When they had something bad go against them, they didn't lose their focus. They just kept going straight ahead, didn't change their game. And that's what happened last night.
I'm sure you could have felt the angst of Jet fans all the way out east where you are. I mean, listen, I get it. I mean, we know what happened in the last two playoff series where the Jets got off to a good start and then got steamrolled by two very good teams, granted. I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. But this series, the way games 3 and 4 went, I mean, you're exactly right. It was 2 games, but it felt I mean, listen, the stakes, the attention, I mean, it's so much bigger in the playoffs, Joe. And I really thought that there were so many players in that locker room that needed to step up, to raise their level. And in a lot of ways, we've kind of been describing it as like staring the demons down in the face. And, you know, they did exactly that last night. And it was compounded by the loss of Mark Scheifele. That second goal went in. I mean, when it's 2-2, Scheifele's not out there, that goal goes in. I mean, that game could have definitely gone the wrong way for Winnipeg. And for the rest of that period, well into the third, to a man, they stepped up, did exactly what you said, played their game that I think a lot of people were wondering whether they were capable of getting back to, and they answered it with authority.
Yeah, I think a reason, obviously, for all the angst was the losses in games 3 and 4 because they look so similar to what happened against the Avalanche last season and the season before that against Vegas. But, you know, this team didn't fold, which is great to see. And we all talk about the save by Hrabchak on Sundqvist, which was an extraordinary save. But I think an even bigger save was in the final minute when Parenko came in from the point, and he had Hrabchak one-on-one, and Helly made the pad save on the stick side to keep the Jets in front 2-1. I think that was a huge save because, as we've seen, the Jets giving up those last-minute goals at the end of the period, that would have been devastating as well.
You know, I'll be honest. You brought up the Jamie McCowan hit, and I hadn't really thought about that early on. I mean, maybe just so focused in on the moment. And obviously, I mean, it's a long time ago. We're still, you know, a kid when that had happened, and, you know, we never forgave Jamie McCowan for it. But they were able to persevere through it. But there is some similarities to it. I mean, there is a predatory nature to that hit. You know, looking to, some people may disagree, but take out a player in a very vulnerable position. How did you see it from your perspective?
Last night, I'm not a doctor, just like Jim Montgomery, and I haven't ever played one on TV when I was on TV. But I'm going to have to agree with his assessment that it was the Faxa hit where Scheifele got hurt on. I was watching it again before our interview, and you could see Mark is definitely feeling it after that hit because he did play, 3 or 4 shifts after the hit by Schenn, which was totally dirty, should have been more than just a 2-minute minor, at least should be a fine, maybe not a suspension. And there was no reason for Schenn to launch himself at Scheifele. He could have just skated through him, but he chose to launch himself. And let's face it, in this series, the St. Louis Blues are hitting to hurt. And the Winnipeg Jets are just hitting to get in the way, with basically one exception was with Logan Stanley's hit on Kyrou. But otherwise, it's been a frustration for me in the Jets, this 2.0 version of the Jets, where other teams physically dominate and go after their top players. The series against Calgary, you know, Milan Lucic and Sam Bennett just ganged up on Josh Morrissey. The series against Vegas, Adam Lowry was a star for the Jets in that series. And I think it was game 3 or game 4, first shift, Keegan Colasar just made a beeline to Lowry and took him out. Let's go back to the first Vegas series, game 2, Ryan Reeves is inserted into the Vegas lineup. And what does he do? He puts Blake Wheeler into the Jets bench, changing the series around. So the Jets, if I have one complaint about Shovel Day Off, get some players who can, you know, settle the score or at least keep everything, you know, on a level playing field. Because right now the Blues are out there hitting to hurt. And in between the Schenn hit and the Faxa hit, there was Falk, who gave Scheifele a shoulder to the chin that no one's been talking about, and that was away from the play as well. But that was in between. So the St. Louis Blues in this series, they're hitting to hurt. The Jets are sort of hitting to get in the way. And, you know, the Blues are finishing off every check. If a Jet player passes the puck, for the next 2 or 3 seconds, he's apparently, according to the NHL, he's fair game because the Blues are finishing their checks and the Jets are not. So I'd like to see a little more physicality from the Jets, but clean, but hit to hurt, not hit to get in the way.
Just back to, kind of agreeing with Monty. I mean, the one thing I'll say, we know enough about head injuries to know that, something can happen and it doesn't show up for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a day, 2 days afterwards. So, I don't think any of us can really point out when it happened. I will say this, Joe, I was stunned in the building seeing that hit in real time, stunned that Scheifele wasn't taken immediately to the quiet room, mandated by a concussion spotter.
Yeah, true. And why maybe somebody on the Jets training staff, and obviously we're watching it on TV, you're in the building, but I didn't, they didn't show if there was any interaction. I mean, after the hit by Schenn, Scheifele is talking to the referee, and he was on the power play. So he was showing no signs. And again, I watched every shift, like I said, about before this issue, and he's showing no signs of any injury or any effects up until when he gets hit by Baksa. And when I mentioned about that Parenko shot in the final minute, it was Scheifele who left Parenko to go to where the puck was. He left his man and left Parenko open. So that's, the NHL rule book. And I wish that they would, print 2 different versions of the rule book. There's a regular season rule book and there's a playoff rule book. So give the fans the playoff rule book so we know what's a penalty and what's not a penalty, what kind of hitting is allowed and what kind of hitting is not allowed. Because in the regular season, there have been more penalties than what we're seeing right now.
Remis has cooked up quite the poll in the chat right now, Joe. Which player would Jet fans boo the loudest? Listen to this lineup. Ryan Hartman, Braden Schenn, Rutger McGroarty, and Pierre-Luc Dubois. And probably a bit of recency bias, but no surprise that Braden Schenn is leading, closely followed by the rat in Minnesota, Ryan Hartman. Give us a vote in the chat right now if you're with us live on YouTube.
Can we write in Matthew Tkachuk?
Yeah. I'll just wait. If the Jets ever had the opportunity to play him again in a playoff series, he would immediately go to the top of the power poll. You could pretty much guarantee that.
And another thing, why is Mark Scheifele out there trying to hit people? Because on the Faxa hit, he's the one who initiates the contact. He's going in to deliver the hit in open ice. He doesn't need to, right? He's your star offensive player next to Kyle Connor, of course. Why is he feel the need to try and initiate hits and try to be physical? He doesn't need to. There should be other players on the team in the lineup to do that. And we saw Brandon Tanev do that last night.
Oh, that
he
one
laid out
shift
a couple
of his.
good.
Holy smokes.
So that's what I would like to see, for next season, obviously. There has to be somebody out there that can play in the lineup, that can deliver the big hit and, and keep the other teams honest. I know that's why Scott Arniel said he had to play wanted to play Logan Stanley all season long because they need that type of player in the playoffs, right? And, I'll be open and honest. I like Logan Stanley. Yes, I know he makes mistakes, a ton of them. But, I'll always remember that series against Montreal in that 4th game. He showed up. He showed up to play, and I can't say that for a lot of the other Jets in that 4th game against Montreal. But we need to see him be more physical, and has been. But last night would have been nice if he had stepped up and been able to deliver a big hit.
I'll say this. I mean, you mentioned that the game 4 against Montreal. Talk about game 6 against these same Blues in 2019. Game 5 against Vegas. The infamous pushback. I mean, there had been some no-shows from Jet teams in similar situations or similar adversity, albeit this was a 2-2 series, and that was different than those other games. But, man, like, where to even start going down the list of guys that raised their level of play? I mean, obviously, Vlad Nemestikov, nobody needed something more. And the timing of it, they needed it. Not only did they need Vlad to do something offensively, but in the absence of Mark Scheifele, it was an absolute must. And he played 2 of his best periods as a Jet in that circumstance. I thought Kyle Connor really stepped up his game. But then you look at Nino Niederreiter, Adam Lowry. I think Mason Appleton had one of his best games as a Jet last night. And it's interesting. He had 3 assists on the night. The second goal, the Nino Niederreiter tip-in, was started with a beautiful play by Appleton back to the point. It went Pionk, Sandberg, then to Nino. He actually didn't get credit for an assist on that, and that might have been as important as any of the others. But we talked a lot about the middle six needing to create, to spend more time in the other team's zone and do something offensively. And you can pretty much look at that entire group. I thought Cole Perfetti was impactful. Alex Iafallo moving to a new line made things happen. Every single player on that team stepped up when they needed it the most. And I mean, this is a win that you really can build on, knowing what you're capable of when you are staring down the demons and know you got a hell of a good team with all the momentum on the other side.
Yeah, we know how, based on the regular season, we know how good this team can play when they get to what they call Jets hockey, right? Nose to the grindstone, straight ahead, period by period, shift by shift, get to the front of the net, create screens, low to high, high to low, get those shots from the point, get in front of the net. Niederreiter finally getting to the front of the net and paying off. I mean, you look at Nemestikov should have had another goal, and so should have Perfetti last night. It could have been 7-3, right? And it would be another different storyline where we're looking at Binnington, questioning him and his performance. But last night, as we've said, a total team effort, and they're going to need another one. And hopefully, it's not a long-term thing with Scheifele, and Nikolai Ehlers is able to come back, maybe, for hopefully they don't need it, but a Game 7, but at least for the next series, if he can come back and they can use his speed. And it'll be interesting to see the line combinations again for tomorrow. I'd like to see Adam, for me, I'd like to see Adam Lowry stay on the third line. I'd like to see Morgan Barron up on the second line with Perfetti and with Iafallo. I think Barron has more offensive potential than Adam Lowry, and I'd like to see Lowry stay in that sort of defensive shutdown mode.
Hey, Scooch, before we go, you, of course, are out east. Just stepping away from the Jets for a minute. What are the angst levels in the GTA like going into Game 6 tonight up in Ottawa?
They have jumped off the Leaf bandwagon here. They are. It's unbelievable how upset. I wasn't able to see the fifth game because I was at the PWHL game working that night. But hearing the fans, hearing all the radio and TV commentators just dumping on the Leafs, going, all right, they're going to lose this series. It's coming back to Game 7. They're going to blow this one as well. They have just jumped. They jump on and off the bandwagon here so quickly. I'm confident the Leafs will get the job done tonight, but I've been proven wrong many a time before.
If they don't, they are 1-13 in their last 14 clinching opportunities. The power play is 0-for-30 through those 14 games. Austin Matthews now has 2 goals in his last 15 playoff games. If Ottawa wins this game, listen, I'm here for it just from a content side, and we all love Game 7s. I mean, it's a lot more stressful if your own team is in it. But anyways, it's going to be a great night tonight. 4 Game 6s. We'll really dive into those in the Coolbet line segment a little later on for our friends over at Coolbet Canada. But I just know that you're around it and probably hearing a lot of it, so it should be good.
I'm listening to it and watching it, and and even my neighbors here in the area that I live, they have jumped off the bandwagon. They just can't believe it. Same old Leafs, right? And then I always hit them. I always hit them with the line that, you know what, at least I can say that I watched the Leafs win the Stanley Cup.
Joe, thanks for jumping on today. Enjoy the games tonight, and then, of course, stand alone tomorrow. 1 game in the league, Game 6. Jets have an opportunity to move on to the second round. But it's going to be tough. They'll be doing it on the road, and they'll be doing it without Mark Scheifele. You have a good one. Let's catch up soon.
Okay, see you soon.
Thanks for doing this. There's the Scooch himself, Joe Pascucci. Give him a follow on X at Pascucci015. Great historical stuff from Joe on Winnipeg Jets history, and he's always locked in on the squad, taking a look at what's happening and following the Winnipeg Jets. Great to have Joe on the program. Ken Wiebe's going to join us in a few minutes, but I do want to thank our pal Sean and Let's Do It Travel for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Now listen, whether you are planning an all-inclusive vacation next year with your very precious travel dollar and vacation time, or maybe the most important vacation you'll ever take, a destination wedding, or even planning a dream sports trip with the fellas, reach out to our pal Sean at Let's Do It Travel to make sure you're getting the most out of your vacation time and stretching your travel dollar further. Give him a follow on Instagram at Let's Do It Travel WPG, and check them out online at letsdoittravel.com for more information on how Sean and Let's Do It Travel can help you make the best decisions and, again, get the most for that travel dollar. And here's the kicker. Let's Do It Travel is waiving their booking fees for WST listeners. So just let Sean know that we sent you, and he'll take good care of you. You got a buddy in the travel business with Sean and Let's Do It Travel. Get in touch today. Follow Instagram at Let's Do It Travel WPG and online at letsdoittravel.com. Well, Whiteout Mania was in full effect downtown last night. And man, it's been fun going around the city and seeing all the Whiteout Mania signs that fans have been picking up at Princess Auto and displaying proudly in their homes and their businesses. If you haven't got them already, pop down to Princess Auto. They're totally free, and get ready for a big Game 6. Hopefully not Game 7, and hopefully round 2 as the playoffs continue. You can also enter costumes, incredible setups for your Jets fandom at winnipegjets.com/whiteoutmania for your chance to win playoff tickets, courtesy of Princess Auto. And of course, Princess Auto, the place where you find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. So pop in for that and the Whiteout Mania signs, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and of course, don't forget about our friends out in Westman, Brandon location, stocked and available as well. You can always shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Our friends at Aikens Lake are ready for the summer. I cannot wait to get out there a little later on this year. And hey, I know many of you have heard us talking about it. I mean, it is just a world-class fly-in fishing oasis where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality from the Aikens Lake team. Find out more on availability for the 2025 fishing season today at aikenslake.com, and make sure to give them a follow on all their socials at Aikens Lake. And we've got a very well-dressed man coming up here in just a moment. Of course, that would be the well-hydrated Ken Wiebe. Guys, if you need to up your menswear game as we head into the new seasons, head on down to F Apparel, your number one spot for custom men's clothing in town, custom suits, chinos, shirts, golf pants, best selection of menswear accessories around, and two great deals right now. One for 2025 grads, where you get a free shirt and tie with the purchase of any suit for graduates this year. And of course, great discounts for wedding parties when you get your suits for the big day at F Apparel. Pop by and see them, 190 Smith Street downtown. And you can check them out online as well at that's EPHapparel.com, and book a fitting and an appointment coming up as well. Listen, we've got Kenny Wiebe locked and loaded, but we're going to be talking. Remis, if you can cue up number 10 here. Just before we get to Ken, I wanted to play this clip. This was Vlad Nemetsnikov, who came to the rescue in the absence of Mark Scheifele. Here's Vlad on stepping up after Mark Scheifele was knocked out of the game last night.
It was good. I mean, things happen in playoffs. Sometimes puck doesn't go in, but you kind of have to stick with it. And, when things don't go your way, we lost Scheif, people have to step up. So I think as a team, we stepped up today and got the win.
Heading into the game, did you guys kind of in the middle six feel that extra weight of secondary scoring?
Yeah, you always want to contribute, but as I said, hockey's not all about scoring. Sometimes, you have to defend as well. So, yes, you'd like to contribute, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to do that, and good thing that one went in today.
Can you give us an idea of what happens psychologically when a guy like Scheifele goes down that can maybe get people thinking, okay, I got to step up?
Yeah, it's hard losing your best player, but at the same time, we've dealt with this all year with injuries, so it's the next man mentality, and as I said, we've been doing it all year, and guys stepped up today.
All right, so there's Vlad Nemetsnikov. We'll get to him, Scheifele's situation, much more coming up with Ken Wiebe in this upcoming segment, and this segment is presented by KFC Canada. We're so excited to have KFC Canada, a Winnipeg fan favorite, on board as a playoff partner on Winnipeg Sports Talk. KFC Canada is also an official partner of the Winnipeg Jets and is committed to providing Jet fans a delicious game day experience with exclusive finger-licking good promotions we're proud to bring to the Canada Life Center. On Jets game days, KFC Canada is giving away their Big Crunch chicken sandwich for just $4.95 at participating Winnipeg KFC locations to help Jet fans enjoy the big game with a big hit. Saw a lot of Jet fans enjoying the great taste of KFC at the game last night, and just thinking about this, I may have to go grab a Big Crunch after we're finished up on WST today. Let's welcome in Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. We have a lot to talk about. Weber, what's going on? How are you?
Afternoon, Huss. Great to be with you. The Colonel was serving up an extra crispy performance as well, Huss, in the theme of the KFC.
Pretty good there, Ken.
The Big Crunch is not his specialty, but a goal to get the game going, and two helpers, including the assist on the game winner from Vlad Nemetsnikov, I would say had many folks out of their seats, Huss, as you saw, as being one of those people out of your seats on a few occasions yesterday.
Yeah, it was, listen, you know me, I was filled with a lot of nervous energy and angst, like so many Jet fans were over the course of these last 3 days, which seemed like forever. I got to the rink last night for Game 5 of the series, and we were just sitting around before the game, and I'm like, it feels like Game 2 was like 2.5 weeks ago. It was 9 days in between. It was kind of a strange series, but I'll say this. I think, and Scott O'Neill mentioned that hopefully it would be a benefit going into Game 5, an extra time to kind of ground themselves, focus, and get back to the job at hand, which is getting back to their game, which really did, they got off of it in big time fashion in Games 3 and Game 4. And listen, we're going to get into, Mark Scheifele's situation and the Schenn hit and all that, but Ken, we said this was a gut check 3 years in the making, and man, did that team to a man step up in some pretty adverse situations and put together an absolutely a performance worthy of a team that won the President's Trophy.
Yeah, no doubt, Huss, and I would even say it extends further than that. You can take it right back to Game 3 of the 2020 qualification round. Quite frankly, Game 2 was the last time against the Flames that the Jets had won a game after a playoff loss. I mean, that's 5 years of agony. Yes, we know it's a different year and everything else. But Huss, a lot of the core group has been through all of those moments. So you have to think that it was weighing on them to a degree, even if they say they're not thinking about it. But the fact that they broke through that spell, and I think that allows them to exhale a little bit. Now, obviously, the injury situation complicates matters to a degree, of course. But the fact that they came through and were able to deliver is a massive step for this team that needs to take a step forward in terms of its, winning window and all of those things, Huss. We know the Blues were the best team coming out of Four Nations, but that doesn't give a team any solace if that's the team that knocks them out. A third consecutive first-round exit would be catastrophic on a number of levels for these players and for the organization, given the strides that they were able to take this season on and off the ice. So the fact that they came through with such an incredible effort, is a testament to the steps they have taken. Now, that only gets them to 3-2. They still need one win in the next two games to push them on to the second round. And then the same thing, Huss. I mean, there's not a parade if the Jets win one round. I mean, that's part of the expectation, but it's a reminder of how hard it is to win in this league. And for this group to see that all of the hard work and effort, the whole 5 to 10% better, that it is leading to direct results. Jets played their best game of the season yesterday, Huss. I mean, again, the score is, there's an eyewash goal late, big deal. I mean, that was the Jets' second period was one of, if not their best periods of the entire season. When you consider the circumstance surrounding it, it's tough to envision them having a better effort than that over the course of that's now, 87 games, a regular season and playoffs. So now they've got to do it again. And, from our conversation with Dylan DeMello today, I mean, that was the Jets showing an incredible amount of resolve. And now they've got to deliver one more knockout punch in order to send the Blues packing into advance to the second round to face either the Dallas Stars or Colorado Avalanche.
Listen, there's a number of players I want to talk about in the performance last night, but we may as well get to, what happened with Mark Scheifele. You were the one asking the questions to the coaches afterwards. I mean, I guess we'll get your thoughts on the hit itself from Braden Shen to Mark Scheifele. And then take us into the media room yesterday. I mean, listen, Arniel was nuclear on the bench, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
He was calm, but still relatively livid. And then some real politicking from Jim Montgomery, it seemed, before Arnie took the stage. I mean, just your thoughts on what you saw on the ice and then afterwards from both of those coaches.
Sure, Huss. I mean, in terms of the hit itself, it's charging. I mean, at first, there's some debate about interference. Puck was there, then it wasn't. It's in the vicinity, all of that. The issue with the Shen hit, first of all, I don't think it's a suspendable hit. If he hits him in the head or in the chin there, Huss, it's an automatic 5 in a game for me, and it's probably a suspension. But the major issue is leaving his feet. We know that Braden is a physical force. He's been a physical force. He's been the most physical player in this series on either team. He's left his feet on multiple occasions. I don't have the clicker here, Huss. It's 2 or 3 occasions for sure. So that the Jets don't like that part of it. I don't think there's any surprise that there wasn't any supplemental discipline handed out for the hit itself. I do think that the referees, probably given the circumstances, should have taken a look at it. I mean, that's why they put in the rule with the 5-minute major. I don't think it was a major personally, but they should have looked at it a little bit further. And in terms of, in the second hit too, both coaches are vouching for their players. Now, Jim Montgomery is a smart guy. So is Scott Arniel. Jim Montgomery knows that there's going to be pressure with there being an injury to Mark Scheifele for the Department of Player Safety to be looking at the Shen hit. So he went out of his way to say, hey, Hrabchak Faksa also rocked Mark Scheifele. Are we sure that, Jim Montgomery said he was sure, but he was trying to plant a seed of doubt as to when the injury occurred. I went back and checked the paperwork. Now, Montgomery wasn't 100% accurate with his assessment either in terms of Scheifele not playing another shift. He did have one more shift after he was hit by Hrabchak Faksa at the far blue line, at the offensive blue line as well. So, again, and then Arniel, obviously that hit is a big part of the game. And you could tell both with the reaction to the referee before the second period and also the way that Scott's blood was boiling during the presser. I felt it was important to ask him about the hit itself. And that's one of those Huss where you ask a question and you just get out of the way because, he had a message to send. He was not happy with Jim Montgomery. And I think the big thing there is that, he brought a little bit of levity and humor to the conversation by dropping the, I didn't know that he had his medical degree. But again, this is, coaches don't like when other coaches talk about their players, especially in scenarios like this. I mean, we've seen kind of the good-natured banter that we saw in the first round between John Cooper and Paul Maurice. That's not a surprise to any of us who have been around Paul Maurice or John Cooper. But I mean, these are two guys who really respect one another. Huss, we know there's a personal relationship. We know that when they're not playing each other, they kind of root for one another, given their history with the Manitoba Moose and the whole idea of second chances, even though the second chance circumstances are vastly different for each person. So again, not surprised with the level of intensity from either guy. The first I asked Montgomery because I was genuinely curious. I knew why Scott Arniel was asking or out, having a note with the referee, but then I was just curious what kind of light Jim Montgomery could shed on the situation. And then when I asked the follow up about Shen, he gave a spirited answer as well. So, Nothing wrong with a little spice between coaches. I mean, we know these two teams respect one another. That there's bad blood in a series where bodies are flying everywhere is not a surprise to me. So, I can understand why both guys handled it the way that they did. And again, now the Jets are left in a scenario where they're going to be without their number one center for at least one game. Again, it's only our job we have to speculate to a degree because we don't have definitive answers. But without knowing the nature of the injury, we're not sure if it's a concussion or not. We're not sure if it's, whatever. We know there's lots of things going out there, so I don't want to be speculating here. But regardless of what the injury is, Huss, the fact that he's not traveling, that probably is an indicator. It doesn't rule him out for Game 7 if there is one, but it would probably suggest this is more than day-to-day. But at the same time, Scott O'Neill, he was forthcoming with Nikolai Ehlers and saying it was week to week. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But what we know in the interim, Huss, it means Vladislav Namestnikov has to step up the way that he did in Game 5. It means Adam Lowry is going to have an elevated role. It means Morgan Barron will have to continue to play the way that he has in this series. He's been fantastic. He was fantastic in an elevated role in Game 5. And it means David Gustafsson or Rasmus Kupari, neither of whom Scott O'Neill was ready to reveal as his next man up player, will also have to have an impact in the game. I would suggest, based on what we've seen so far in the playoffs from David Gustafsson, that Scott O'Neill would be leading Gustafsson in this scenario, Huss, and I think you would agree with me. But I guess that speed element of Kupari is something that could come in handy in a Game 6, a potential closeout game as well. But I'm expecting to see Gustafsson. But again, as Kyle Connor and Adam Lowry pointed out at the podium, Huss, this is not asking one person to say, hey man, you see those Scheifele shoes over there? I need you to fill them. This is a collective, and the Jets have always been about collective all year long, and they're going to have to get another collective effort because they got a collective effort, Huss, in Game 5. The major storyline going in was Hellebuck. The number 2 thing on the Jets' prioritizing list, yes, probably was defending. Number 3, secondary scoring had been nowhere to be found from the middle 6 forward group, and that group absolutely stepped up big time and delivered. Yes, Namestnikov had to get elevated to the top line, but everything in that game, Huss, Mason Appleton, 3 helpers, Menino Niederreiter getting to the paint and getting a goal, Adam Lowry, another empty netter. That was just a massive game all around, and hey, we're going to get to the defense in a second, but secondary scoring, massive impact on that game in Game 5, and I mean the defending was outstanding as well as a 5-man unit, but the defense core, absolutely massive game for a group that had been under fire in this series, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, top to bottom, an answer that this team needed to give. It needed to give themselves. It needed to give this fan base, and it puts them within a game of moving on to the second round, but that final one is always the toughest to get, and it certainly is compounded by the fact that Mark Scheifele isn't on that plane going to St. Louis. Listen, I want to dive into a couple of those players that you mentioned, but you, Arnie spoke today before the team left. What was his mood? How is it different today than right after the heat of the battle in the game last night? And just quickly fill us in on what he had to say about Scheifele, as well as Nikolai Ehlers, who is making the trip.
Yeah, Huss, I mean, I would say that Scott was in a pretty good mood given the circumstance. He did not take a somber tone whatsoever. He was very measured in his commentary today. I thought he, handled it with the right kind of, he had a couple of quips in there as well, but for the most part, it was very, it was a serious but not dire tone. I thought he kind of hit all the right notes. He knew what was coming. He wasn't about to get into a, verbal jousting, about, how things are being called or how the series is being played or any of those things. I mean, we know that the Jets aren't happy with some of the, the late hits. I mean, Shen also crushed Josh Morrissey at the end of the period. I thought it was a, beat and a half late. Zach Bolduc hit Josh Morrissey probably for sure a half beat, if not a full beat late in that game. But that there was no, there was no politicking to the men in stripes. He wasn't putting himself in position to make it look like he was, trying to shine a light on, getting calls for the Winnipeg Jets. He, basically said this team's got to be ready, and they would be ready. In terms of Ehlers, Huss, Scott O'Neill, whether he intended to or not, when he was asked about what an ideal Game 6 would look like from John Liu, he said, we're not going to have two of our top six forwards. So, and he meant Scheifele and Ehlers. So for all the folks who think that Ehlers being on the plane means he's an option for Game 6, I would suggest those people stand down. Scott said that Ehlers would not be in the lineup. Now, could something change? I mean, I guess you could always leave a sliver of hope possibility there. But to me, when he joked on the way out that, let's see what color jersey he's wearing for the morning skate, that was not an indicator that he was under consideration for Game 6. Now, could he be under consideration for Game 7 if it goes that far? I would doubt it. But again, stranger things have happened, and Ehlers himself stepped up and played in Game 6 in 2019 with a serious ankle injury at the time. Even though he wasn't able to, he was able to gut it out. Huh? So you never know. These guys want to play when they can. If he could play, he would play. But in this scenario, I don't see Nikolai Ehlers being an option, at least for the time being. Let's just talk about Game 6. He's not going to be in Game 6. So this isn't another guy coming out of the bullpen like Gabe Velarde did and made a massive impact in those 18 plus minutes in the game itself. But the fact that Ehlers is there, it means he's going to be able to get treatment. It means he's going to be able to be on the ice, and it means he's going to be around his teammates. So again, just tying a bow on Scheifele, Huss. We don't know if it's a concussion. Scott O'Neill was asked directly about protocol. He said he didn't want to go down that road. But, again, trying to connect the dots, if there are concussion symptoms, that would be one reason to not have a player get on a plane, right? I mean, that's just something that better safe than sorry type of scenario. Mark would love to be around his teammates for a potential clinching game, whether he's in the lineup or not. But it's probably just wisest to keep him at home if there is any concern on that front, though. So, I mean, again, we're going to see what happens, but I mean, this is going to be the same kind of idea. Defend incredibly well, and then you're going to need other guys to step in and step up.
So many guys did that. I'd said yesterday on the program that I was looking directly at the guy with the C on his chest, and Nino Niederreiter and Mason Appleton reunited. They have been the identity line of this club. They have been, in a lot of ways, the conscience of the Winnipeg Jets. Man, did those three answer the bell last night, contributing in a number of different ways. I thought Appleton, he had the 3 assists, Ken.
Yeah.
Maybe his most impactful play was that beautiful play he made to spring Pionk and Sandberg on Nino Niederreiter. The fact that Niederreiter tipped it in took the assist away from him.
Right.
But the first period for Appleton, the kick assist on the Connor goal right out of the gate was a great play. And then he just continued to go. And man, you want to talk about doing the little things right. What that line was able to do in controlling the puck and in the neutral zone was in stark contrast to what happened in Game 3 and 4. And I thought a real tone setter, especially when they needed to step up after things got jumbled up in the aftermath of the Scheifele injury.
Yeah, no doubt, Huss. They set the tone in the game for sure. We talk all the time about them being a great checking line, but part of their success is playing in the offensive zone and making those offensive players have to check, right? They completely, erased the Shen line, which the Shen line had 2 goals the previous game. Kyrou was a non-factor in the game itself. Neighbors was buzzing around, but again, that line was excellent when they were together. Lowry obviously had to move up and play a little bit of an elevated role, in the second and parts of the second and in the third. But I thought that line was fantastic. I thought there might have been some times too when Arneal got Lowry out against Thomas, but because of the way that the Scheifele line played against them, and then also Nemesnikov taking on that role afterward, they didn't have to really do that. So I thought they were fantastic. Niederreiter getting a goal, Huss from his office, that was a massive development and a critical one for the Jets. But yes, this is, Huss, that might have been Mason Appleton's best game as a Jet, quite frankly.
I thought so too.
He was flying. His skating was unbelievable. He was disruptive on the forecheck. As you said, he could have had 4 points in the game. But the other thing, too, the quick up, or the D-to-D, Sandberg to Pionk, the quick up to Appleton on the game winner. Appleton also makes a great play there to find Kyle Connor as the trailer. And then Kyle with a beautiful backhand pass to lead Nemesnikov, and then just a fantastic finish. But I thought that Appleton was absolutely flying in the game, Huss. He was skating as best as he had all series long. And again, when you get those offensive contributions, this is a guy that has to contribute offensively. I know those guys, it's a tough job, but they need to be on the board, and all three of them got on the board. And you say whatever you want, it's another empty netter for Lowry, but Lowry was an absolute beast in that game, Huss. I thought he was great on a number of levels, and he's going to have to be great again if the Jets want to get it done in Game 6.
Ken, do you think they'll go with the lines that played so well in the aftermath of the Scheifele lineup, or do you think things might look different when they drop the puck based on the availability of players?
Yeah, Huss, I mean, it's a great question. I think there would be some temptation to keep the Lowry line together, the identity line, and then you could see Morgan Barron moving up with Alex Iafallo and Cole Perfetti. I do think that's an option. I also think that they probably liked what they saw from Lowry with Perfetti and Iafallo as well. So I think there's a confidence level that Barron can play that job on the identity line. Again, he's not Adam Lowry, but he brings some similar qualities to the table as a power forward. Might even bring a little bit more speed. So I could see them going either way. I don't know definitively. I know there'll be some temptation. You can make the argument on either side of it, Huss. But again, one other thing that I do want to mention, I thought that Brandon Tanev had his best game of the series also. He was back to being, again, we know he's buzzing around all the time. I thought he was an absolute physical force. He had a big hit on Cam Fowler early in the first period, and Fowler had been so good offensively, Huss. I felt that kind of was a little bit of a speed bump for Fowler, who still was, involved in the game. But I thought that Brandon Tanev was back to blocking shots, creating opportunities with his speed. Jared Anderson-Dolan hitting everything that moved again. I thought that line was really good before Barron got the promotion. So I just wanted to also, mention that fourth line, because we talked about how important it would be for them. And we know that they already had the contributions in the playoffs to have the 2 goals in the first 4 games. I thought they were still really impactful, even though, again, maybe not as offensive, but I thought that they were really buzzing around and really making some things happen in a series where you have to, because of how well the Blues fourth line is playing. Toropchenko has been an absolute missile on that fourth line. Nathan Walker, a pair of goals, and he is also hitting everything that moves, and he's been a serious thorn in the side of the Jets here in the series. And Fox is a guy who is, we've seen him in the Central Division for years, Huss in Dallas, playoff kind of performer, very involved in the game. So I thought that the Jets' fourth line having energy and getting some things done was really important for them on that front also.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. I mean, Tanev was everywhere last night playing with the energy, and he really did. I mean, he gave energy to his team. He certainly gave energy to the building and the crowd. And Jad has just been, I mean, like that. I thought he was so effective in, like, when he was out there, when they were holding the lead. There was absolutely no drop off from, the guys that were going out there on lines 2 and 3 when those guys were out there. But I kind of want to single out one guy, Ken. And, we've talked about the situation that the Jets were in, even before Mark Scheifele got hurt. They needed to step up and they needed to lean on their best players. I mean, what a performance by Kyle Connor, who I think needed to bounce back a little bit himself after what happened in St. Louis in 3 and 4. He showed that he can be a difference maker when he's not with Mark Scheifele, and he seemed to make everybody better with him that was playing with him last night.
Yeah, outstanding game for Connor for sure, Huss. I mean, I thought he was really skating. I thought he was attacking. He was in attack mode, really getting his shot off. And again, we know he's an absolute pure snipe show, but his passing ability has been underrated for years. And that play that he makes to Nemestikov is really high end. And Huss, we know that based on getting blown out to the tune of 12-3 in the previous 2 games, scoring first was going to be important in the game. And, lo and behold, there, like you said, the kick play by Appleton after getting the stick in the face, Scheifele's pass, and then just an absolute, filthy finish by Connor going, shelf on Binnington there. Like, that just set the tone for the entire game for the Jets. And Connor knew that without Scheifele there, he was going to have to elevate his game even further. And I thought that he was absolutely dynamite. I mean, like, let's just look at the stat line here. The guy's got 2 GWGs in the first 2 games and set up the game winner in Game 5. Yes, you can say whatever you want about being held off the sheet in Games 3 and 4, and that's fine. But Huss, you cannot rely on your top line to carry you every single game. And again, top line was great yesterday, but they weren't just the only line going. Kyle has done more than his share in this series, but he's going to have to do more. as the Jets move forward without Mark Scheifele, at least for the temporary basis here, because he is the game breaker. You're a difference maker and a game breaker. That means you're going to have an impact on those scenarios. And Huss, I have to believe that Kyle Connor is going to get a breakthrough here on the power play. Yes, we know he had the glorious chance, the one-timer chance in game one before getting the game winner later on at even strength. The fact that Kyle hasn't scored a power play goal since December 23rd is absolutely confusing on a number of levels, but he's also opening up opportunities for others. But I have to think that with Gabe Vilardi back and the way that Gabe played yesterday, Huss, after being out for 5 weeks, showing no signs of rust, he was moving around really well. He was withstanding a ton of cross checks and physical play in the game because the Blues were trying to test him, but his hands were definitely on display. And I think he's gonna find Kyle Connor for that elusive power play marker. And Huss, if Kyle gets one on the power play, he might get a bunch. That's the kind of scorer he is. He's a consistent player, but he's also, he can be really streaky in terms of getting hot streaks going at the right time for him. And I think that those two guys, the more that Gabe plays and the more reps that he's going to get, the better those guys are going to feel. And then just kind of too, I mean, we touched on Nemesnikov, but for a guy who had gone 20 games without a goal, we know he does the little things well. We know he plays hard. We know he's physical. We know he's responsible defensively. But the fact that he was able to deliver in that type of manner was so important for him. He's so smart, and he's the kind of guy who has first-round talent. He has the skill and smarts to play with those guys. No, he doesn't have the finish, and that's fine. I mean, he should have had two. We know this. The play that he makes to walk around Binnington on the 2-on-1 is an exceptional play. It's almost hard to believe that he missed the net from that angle. But hey, unless you've been in that angle, I would maybe take it a little easy on the criticizing. But anyways, that's one that he would also say that he has to have. So I get it. But he really elevated his game and showed that skilled side without letting the defensive details slip. And that was just absolutely critical. And you saw some chemistry with Nemesnikov and Kyle Connor as well in the game, I thought.
Let's talk about Hrabchak. I thought that the second goal there's been a lot of talk about the goals that have gone in. I think that was the worst one of the playoffs, and the timing of it was brutal. Listen,
it was moldy, Huss. It was moldy for sure.
The way the team backed him up after that was one of the huge stories of the game, but he did make some big saves down the stretch. And I believe it was you on KNR last night who talked about the paddle save when the team was on the power play in the first period. The more I think of it, that might be the timeliest save I've ever seen. If that goes in and the Jets give up a shorty and are down 2-1, I mean, hey, listen, they bounced back and they did what they did in the final 40 minutes, so maybe we should give them a little bit more credit. But we know how things like that can really change a game, and I don't know what happens if that one goes in.
Yeah, totally fair, Huss. I mean, at the bare minimum, it's game changing. It's more likely series changing. And, again, you don't want to be, looking too far down the road. But honestly, Huss, it has the potential to be franchise altering. And again, I'm not trying to oversell it here, Huss.
You know what? You're not.
That's why I'm saying it. I mean, this literally. It's series changing at a bare minimum for me, not just game changing. Because the Jets started so well but gave up a goal just over 2 minutes later, Huss, then they go on the power play and you think, oh, well, the only way you're going to make the other team maybe back off a hair, even though the Blues probably aren't backing off, is if you get the power play going and you make them pay on the power play. Not only that, then you give up a shorty there in that type of scenario. I think it's a big deflator for the Jets. I think the building, the mood in the building would have gone pretty much sideways, Huss. Instead, every single person is looking around and like, holy smokes, did he really make that save? And it sort of gave the Jets, it really gave them a boost at a time when they needed it. I think it was massive for Hrabchak to get his, whatever. I'm not going to say it's confidence restoration, but it has to make you feel better as a goaltender. And as a player, I mean, Oscar Sundqvist, he thought he had him beat. And again, I don't think this was a nonchalant play. It is an absolute one-timer blast, but Hrabchak with the absolutely desperation play to knock it down with the paddle. And honestly, if the Jets go on and the run extends beyond this first round and happens to go into late May or early June, we're going to be looking back and saying, hey, remember that save Hellebuyck made on Oscar Sundqvist? Because that's how massive it could end up being in the big picture. But, having said all that, the Jets need to win one more game before we're talking about, kind of grander gestures and grandiose plays and Jets lore and all of those other things, right? I mean, that's just the way that it is. But it's not possible without making the save itself. And making the save itself was important. Obviously the Walker goal, Sean and I disagreed on it. I think it's a perfect tip by Walker for me. Yes, it does go through him, but I don't think this was a situation where, the big and boring was out of position and it slipped through. And the third one, it just was, they were just it was just one of those weird plays where the puck bounces right to Walker. I mean, I don't know that was a rebound control issue. The Jets needed a better box out, and then Walker's not getting a tap in there. That's how I saw it personally. And again, the fact that Adam Lowry went out of his way to say the Jets felt badly for Hellebuyck, knowing that the numbers have not been great, the fact they gave up a goal with 51.4 seconds left on what was a coverage kind of issue, I think that will even have them even more on high alert for Game 6. And us, it's super interesting. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be less physical. I think it will be equally physical in Game 6. But the fact that there is not a 2-day break here, I do think in a lot of ways it favored the losing team in both situations earlier on. I think a 1-day break favors the team with the momentum here. I think it's easier to carry it over. Yes, of course, now the Scheifele thing throws a little bit of a wrench into that, but the Blues have a bunch of guys that are banged up also. Robert Thomas is one of those guys. He did have an assist, yes, on the Snuggerud goal, but it was his least effective game of the 5 so far. The Jets were physical on him. We know he's dealing with some kind of either lower body groin injury or something like that, and the Jets were difficult on him as well. But the Blues were also, given Josh Morrissey the business. And quickly, Huss, I know we've talked a lot about the forwards. Dylan DeMello might have been his best game as a Jet, not just because he scored. He was an absolute force.
Well, let me ask you just on that, because, listen, this was far from a perfect game. And I thought that Morrissey and DeMello had just an absolutely miserable shift in that first 5 minutes that led to that first goal. I mean, Josh fell down. Dylan couldn't clear it a couple times. And listen, when your number one pairing is having issues like that, even Dylan Sandberg made a uncharacteristic bad giveaway that almost burned the Jets. You saw him shaking his head. All three of those guys in particular, really from those mishaps early in the game, I thought completely turned it around, moved past that. And yes, to your point, from the 5-minute mark of the first period on, Dylan DeMello was an absolute defensive machine. What he was doing in his own end, pulling it off, I'm with you. And I think that, to me, that shows, we saw the resiliency of this hockey team last night as a group. But breaking it down specifically to the blue line, I thought incredible resiliency from, really the entire top four. I thought Pionk had a real strong game, but with the, with Stan playing less, you saw Sandberg over 24 minutes, and that pairing of 44 and Dylan DeMello getting big minutes last night in crucial high leverage situations.
Yeah, no doubt. And Josh being at like 26-38, I think, in the game, based on the physical toll that was exacted on him.
Oh, yeah.
That was an gutsy kind of effort. But again, I don't. Josh is the guy that is often carrying that pairing, and he takes a lot of the hits because he's first man on the puck. Yes, that the goal itself is a bit of a cluster, couple missed clears, and Josh losing an edge. I mean, that those things happen to they happen to everybody. I thought that those two really responded incredibly well over the course of the game. DeMello, I just thought that he made so many good seal plays, box outs in front. That's an area that had been such an issue for the Jets. DeMello was, substantial in that area, or exceptional in that area. And Pionk, physical all over the ice. And Sandberg, his ability to kill plays is so impressive right now. We're using Slavin-esque as a comparison, but I'm not sure it's going to be very long before the league is using Sandberg-esque as the way to describe a lot of that play. Again, and obviously Slavin has a longer resume with it and obviously showed it all at Four Nations, Huss. But I mean, if you're running Team USA, you have to be watching this series and thinking Dylan Sandberg is a guy that can be a similar type of human eraser as Slavin is when the next Olympics roll around and when that best on best hockey will continue on the every 2-year cycle as we move forward here. But it was so important for the Jets to have that type of effort from those players. And, I would even say too, I mean, Luke Shen, people were getting on Luke Shen. He had a huge block in the game yesterday when it was still tight. He was a physical force in the game. And, again, those were just important minutes for the Jets overall. But obviously we know they were taxing minutes on the top four. But after not playing a ton in the second, I thought you saw some really smart plays from Luke Shen in that game in the third period as well, when it was still, a really important time to be going. And, again, they're going to have to do it another one time for sure, and maybe two to knock the Blues out after, this is a team that hasn't lost in 14 in a row on home ice. So not going to be an easy out, but the Jets, their ability to sort of create the low to high plays and the way that they controlled play in the offensive zone was important. But to me, the biggest development in the game was their structural side of things, which really limited the Blues' offensive attack, which had been so impressive in getting to the blue paint and getting to the inside, which is something when the Jets are on their game, Huss, you don't get to the inside on the Jets. And that's what we saw for the majority of that game in Game 5.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Just on the way out, we have completely followed the reverse script of 2019.
Well, we have talked about this, Huss.
Yeah, and listen, for them to get it done in Game 6 on the road without Mark Scheifele, will take another performance like they had last night. But I'll tell you what, Ken, all the Blues fans that were chanting, "We want Connor, we want Connor," I think they're going to get Connor. I think they're going to get MVP Connor, and I'm thinking Hrabchak comes up with his biggest performance in recent playoff history for the Winnipeg Jets. And I think that is going to be a big part of what it's going to take to have the next game at Canada Life Center be Game 1 of Round 2, as opposed to a Sunday night game to see who plays the winner of Dallas, Colorado.
Yeah, bang on, Huss. It was a step forward for Hrabchak yesterday in Game 5, making the huge save, making the saves that matters, making the save on Parayko when he walked in all alone. That was closer to Hrabchak. It was not quite vintage Hrabchak yet, Huss. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to take a vintage Hrabchak performance in either Game 6 or in Games 6 and 7 for the Jets to advance. And I think that Game 5 was an important step in the process for him. And just kind of wrapping it up, I know I talked about it on our show. I love the fact that Hrabchak was out there on Monday, Huss. I'm glad that the Jets got ahead of it. In terms of making him available so that he wasn't, on a day before a game, the last thing Connor Hrabchak needs is to be, sour about questions that are coming his way. I thought he showed great accountability. He said he was going to be better, and he was better. But Huss, Connor Hrabchak still has another level to reach, and I expect him to reach it before these playoffs are over. And I'm with you. I think the most likely scenario for Connor Hrabchak is with knowing Mark Scheifele is out, the guy who happened to sign the identical matching contract as him, knowing that he's also part of the deal when it comes to trying to have guys step up. He doesn't have to be Superman like Gabe Velarde said, but he's going to have to be vintage Hrabchak, and that's the only way you're knocking Jordan Binnington and the Blues out of the playoffs.
Tell you what, we see a game like that from Helly in a win. I think the shackles are off. A lot of the ghosts have been exercised, and then see what they can do. But it's one more win. It's not going to be easy. 7:00 tomorrow night in St. Louis, and of course your colleague Mike McIntyre is there for the Winnipeg Free Press. Wiebe, great stuff last night afterwards with Rennie. Looking forward to another big episode of KNR tomorrow after the final buzzer in Game 6. And as I say, we'll find out whether the next time we're going to be putting the whites on in downtown, it's either Sunday for Game 7 or it'll just start a new series next week. Thanks so much for doing this as always, buddy.
Yeah, my pleasure. Enjoy the weekend when it arrives. Enjoy Game 6 and just got to, shout out the people of the province. Sarah Orleski and I did our usual lap around the whiteout party yesterday, and people are into it, Huss. I mean, you see it on the inside. Building was rocking. Folks were enjoying themselves outside, and it's just impressive to see. It's a good look on the city and the province, and soak it all in. It's a lot of fun.
Young people having a lot of fun out at that party.
Yes, they are. Yes, indeed. No doubt about that. So, anyways, enjoy.
Sounds good, buddy. Take it easy. Looking forward to the game tomorrow night. There's Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press. Let's do the why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Poll is up right now. Who was the MVP of game number 5? Let us know in the your comments in the chat if you want to expand on it, because there's a number of guys that I think are certainly up for consideration. The choices that we've got in the poll: Kyle Connor, Vlad Nemetsnikov, Mason Appleton, Connor Hellebuyck. Vote now. We'll get to fan feedback coming up in just a few minutes. Well, the whiteout continues, and the whiteout mania is continuing at Royal Sports right now. Mentioned earlier this week that the 5th and 6th versions of those whiteout Jets collab with New Era hats have just come in, and they're locked and loaded and restocked with white Winnipeg Jets hoodies to take in the street party, the party in the plaza, the whiteout itself, or just wear around the city to represent your team in the playoff run. Get down to Royal Sports right now while supplies last. They're stocked up again. They're ready for what will be a massive weekend, starting with Game 6 tomorrow. And hopefully we get into more whiteout talk next week in game number 2. It's all at Royal Sports right now. Check out their Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And while you're there, make sure to check out all the bikes in the back that are coming in by the day. Soccer, baseball, softball, tennis. As the weather gets nice, Royal Sports is ready for it. And hey, tomorrow night, Boston pizzas around the province are going to be packed, and the fans are going to be ready for Game 6. Your playoff headquarters is your local Boston Pizza. Check out the amazing new playoff menu with that triple pep pizza. The Wingman Pizza, who our next guest did score an 8.8 when I saw him at BP last week trying it out. The Canadian All-Star Poutine. And for those of you that like the crazy hot stuff, the Scoville Showdown, I believe it's called. I don't have that club in my bag, but if you do like it hot, make sure to check that out. Boston Pizza, playoff menu right now. Great night to get to BP tonight. 4 huge Game 6s. We'll hit on those coming up in the Cool Bet lines. Connor's going to jump on in a second, but man, what a win last night. Crack one. Big cheers to your Winnipeg Jets, and cheers to Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, listen, just before we bring in Connor, let's get to fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market with no added fees. What you see on the site is what you pay, and it certainly is the best source for season ticket holders or ticket holders that might have an extra pair of tickets to get used by another fan and get quick payment the very next day, and you know exactly what you're getting the minute you post your tickets up on Fans First. All right, so the MVP of game number 5, Vladdy the Baddie, Vlad Nemetsnikov gets the nod from the fans here in fan feedback. 44% for Vlad. KFC, though, Kyle Connor just behind him at 40%. What a game Kyle Connor had. Only 5% for Mason Appleton. I think he deserves a little bit more love in this poll. And Connor Hellebuyck with 11%. Wasn't a perfect game, but man, did he make some big saves. And that paddle save if the Jets are able to win this series, as we just talked with Ken Wiebe, could be one of the truly decisive moments in this entire series. Give us your thoughts. Continue the fan feedback in the chat with us live on YouTube. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today over at fansfirst.ca. All right, let's bring in a very busy Connor Hrabchak, who has been absolutely killing it. He and Michael Remis had a post-game stand-up from the rink yesterday that's available on YouTube if you want to check that out. Of course, WST Sunday Live coming up on Sunday at 9 a.m. Will we be talking about round 2, or will we be getting ready for Game 7? That will be determined tomorrow night. Connor joins us now. And Connor, how have you been enjoying covering this series so far? What an answer, what a team performance last night, something that this team and the fan base desperately needed, considering what happened in St. Louis.
Yeah, Huss, you talk about the biggest gut check, 3 years in the making, and you lose your top line center in the after the first period, and Connor Hellebuyck lets in a shaky goal, 2-2 in the second period, and none of it matters because the team stepped up. And yeah, I thought it was the crowd was awesome. I know you were saying that you were nervous, but I didn't sense any nervous energy from the crowd in that game, especially at the start. The loud MVP chants for Connor Hellebuyck were louder than even in games 1 and 2.
That was a statement, I thought. That was a big-time statement from the fans there. Listen, there'd been a lot of negativity in some circles. I had to do an exorcism with a friend of mine out of the Jets doomsday cult on, was it Tuesday night? And of course, they texted me back after the game. See, I told you they were going to win all along. Right. But listen, I think everyone was kind of on pins and needles, had to chew on that Game 4 loss for 3.5 days. But the way the fans stepped up at the start of the game, I thought, with all the criticism of Hellebuyck from the last couple games, that was, we've got a great bit from Kevin Hayes. We'll play this after we chat. He was on Spit and Chicklets talking about the way the Winnipeg fans really try to bring their team up as opposed to get on them. That was very evident right from the get-go, that regardless of how nervous people were, they were there, they were behind their team, and they played a big role in getting that game off to the energy I think that the team had.
And the Jets had their best start of the series, Hustler, scoring 90 seconds in, Kyle Connor. I love that play from Mason Appleton. He's like complaining about the call, holding his face as he kicks it to Mark Scheifele, who passes it to Kyle Connor, and the place went nuts. And then the Jets let in a screened deflection goal right after that, and you're thinking, oh boy, here we go again. And then they bounce back and get their own screen deflection goal, and it's 2-1, and they get out of the first period without letting up a late first period goal. I thought that was huge as well for the nervous energy in the building. And then to bounce back from the nervous energy that was evident in the building after that second goal went in, the crowd knew that Mark Scheifele wasn't there. Connor Hellebuyck just let in a very shaky goal. And the Jets, it didn't matter. It didn't bother them. Vladimir Mesikov played amazing from that point forward. The Jets absolutely dominated that period. The shot attempts were 33-7. The scoring chances were 14-3 in the second period without Mark Scheifele, a period that the Jets have mightily struggled in this series so far. So the resiliency, the perseverance without your top line center in a pivotal game, in a gut check game, a swing game in the series, unbelievable performance from so many secondary scorers last night. I know we're talking about secondary scoring. Vladimir Mesikov was the 1C. It's no longer secondary scoring. That's top line scoring now from Vladimir Mesikov. But yeah, what a performance, what a game, what a crowd last night at Canada Life Center, and a lot to like from the Jets battling through that injury.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, listen, no one had Vlad as 1C penciled in at the beginning of the playoffs. I mean, they were looking to potentially move him down if they got the right deal at the deadline that obviously didn't come to fruition with Brock Nelson going to Colorado. But it really was to a man. I mean, we talked about the Lowry line with Ken, and obviously he ended up moving up. Appleton had one of, if not his best game as a Jet when they needed it the most. Niederreiter was impactful. I thought Cole Perfetti was playing with an edge, and he is, dude. I'm gonna maybe bet him to score on Cool Bet on Game 6 because he has been all around it. And one guy that we haven't brought up, and I think it's maybe because we've just been accustomed to him being so effective in so many different ways. Alex Iafallo once again moves to another line, and he was such a pain in the ass to deal with for the St. Louis Blues in both ends, but especially in the neutral zone, I thought, with that amazing stick that he has. And then what can you say about the defense? I mean, I thought it was a little bit of a shaky start for a few of those guys, and much like the rest of the team, when they needed it, when they were challenged, they stepped up and played, as a group, probably the best 50 minutes we've seen in this playoff series so far.
Yeah, Murat yesterday was talking about how this series has been won and lost in the neutral zone, and the team that has won the neutral zone typically wins the games. Dylan Samberg and Neil Pionk absolutely owned the neutral zone last night. Like, Dylan Samberg, this is what he's been doing all year long, breaking plays down before they even get into the zone and getting the puck to Neil Pionk, who's a great puck mover, great stretch passes out of the zone. That pairing dominated their minutes. I agree with you that the Morrissey-DeMello pairing, shaky start, that first goal, they had a lot of chances to clear that puck. And after that, I thought they settled in. I mean, Josh Morrissey's clearly playing through something. Every time he gets hit, he's hobbled, he's hunched over at the bench, and he played a ton of minutes last night. So he's an absolute warrior for the way he's playing right now. And the Jets' top four, when they play that well in the neutral zone, they move the puck out of their ice that well. That's when they become that defensive juggernaut that you can weather the storm of a Connor Hellebuyck shaky goal. And Connor Hellebuyck made some massive saves as well. You brought up the paddle save. I'm going to mention the Colton Parayko one with 30 seconds left in the first. Jets are up 2-1. They've given up all of these late first period goals. Colton Parayko's wide open in the slot. Hellebuyck top of his crease, confident save. And then the Jets from the second and third period, I thought completely shut everything down. So that's the template for game 6. Is the Jets are going to have to own the neutral zone. It'll start with the top four who are going to play a ton of minutes, getting these secondary contributions and getting some offense from guys like Morgan Barron and Cole Perfetti, who I think are due. I agree.
Yeah, listen, to win game 6, to quote Paul Maurice, do that.
Do that.
What you did last night, and we'll see it. Hey, Remo, if you can, let's. I'm going to play 22 here. So Scott O'Neill met the media earlier today. This is a clip from Arnie. He was asked about the play of his Blue Liners last night in that crucial Game 5 win.
I thought our defense was really good. I really liked them in the offensive zone, all of them. I thought they all did a really good job of when we did get our zone time of getting pucks to the top. That those guys did a really good job of getting pucks down to the net. Mel's shot, obviously, that was a big one at that time. But I thought all our D did a really good job. They were in the last couple of games in St. Louis. They did a really good job of fronting, getting in bodies in front of our shots, and so didn't create those screens, those rebounds, those second chances, sort of the craziness that happens off those shots. I thought we did a really good job of doing that last night.
So there's our Neil, who was asked about Dylan DeMello, but really wanted to credit the entire group. But the neutral zone was key. Owning the front of the net also was. And for the second time in this series, we saw an ass goal, this time for the Jets, on DeMello's goal, which was so big in reestablishing that lead. And I think allowing the team, but also everyone in the building, to breathe a little bit, Connor, when DeMello was able to beat Jordan Binnington, courtesy of a bounce off Colton Parayko's rear end.
Yeah, I mean, that got the crowd back into the game because, like I said, you could sense that the nervous energy was there from Mark Scheifele not being there in the second period. And then Connor Hellebuyck lets in that terrible goal. And there you are, tie game. Things are looking bleak. And yeah, the Jets got a lucky one. But I like the play in the neutral zone from Gabe Vilardi. How good is he at extending plays along the wall and holding on to possession? This was another example of that. He gets challenged, but he's working his way down the wall. They get it back up to the point. And then Gabe Vilardi's trying to fight his way to the front of the net and gets Colton Parayko in the way of it, I guess. I initially thought this was Gabe Vilardi's goal. I thought it hit him, but no, like you said, off Parayko's ass. And now we're even because Neil Pionk had one in game 4 that was devastating to the Jets in that moment, going from 3-1 to 4-1. And this one was huge for the Jets to get them back into it. And they dominated the second period, like I said. And this was just a continuation of that. They were getting so many point shots, so many tip shots, so many chances. And it was a matter of time before a bounce like this happens. And when you control the flow of play, these are the bounces that you get. And then they absolutely kept that going and scored a real goal, Vlad Nemestikov's off the rush, which was a nice play from Appleton. Connor taking the puck in his feet, putting it on Nemestikov's tape. And the Jets, they got lucky, but you got to be good to be lucky, and they controlled the flow of play and earned these bounces.
Yeah, good to be lucky to be good, and listen, They were it's particularly on that play, but they created their own luck last night, and I think that was very evident. Those numbers from the second period I mean, absolutely staggering. And hey, listen, all year long, when faced with, poor games or adversity, this team has stood up. A lot of people didn't think that could carry over into the playoffs. They did it in the most impressive fashion last night. Hey, by the way, before we go, an official congratulations on getting that diploma and being a graduate now. How have you enjoyed going full Big J covering this series? Hey, listen, you've been doing a great job. I want to give Liz tons of credit. Her content's been amazing. Obviously, Jacob's contributions, but you and Remis after the game and, the practice reports. I just hope that this can keep going because of how great it's been for the channel and all the great stuff that you've been a part of. So big congratulations to you, and great to have bigger and better things on the horizon as we move forward.
Well, thank you very much, Huss. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's diving headfirst into the deep end. Like, this is the playoffs. Like, there's no regular season easing into it, 3-game road trips of the teams away. Like, it is all in. I'm having so much fun going to every practice. That was one thing I couldn't do because I had to have class. I can go to practice now. I can go to morning skate. It's awesome. And I hope that we get another couple of maybe month and a half. I don't know where we at here, May 1st. So yeah, I hope we get another month and a half. Well, you got the photo up
Look
there.
Look
Very
at this,
nice.
the photo,
Very
the
nice.
diploma, the pride of CMU and WST.
There we go. Thank you for pulling that up. Yeah, there we go. It's been an absolute blast. And yeah, like you said, I hope we get an extended playoff run here because I don't want this to end anytime soon.
And you know what? I also hope that when you and the gang get together for WST Sunday Live on Sunday at 9 a.m., we're talking about round 2 and not game 7 on Sunday night on a day that's supposed to be sunny and 27 degrees on Sunday. Hopefully they can make that a barbecue day and time for people to enjoy before things inevitably get crazy next week if they are fortunate enough to move on to the next round of the playoffs. Connor, great stuff. We'll be seeing a lot of you. The post-game recap is up on the YouTube channel. If you haven't checked that out, Connor Remis banged that out after the game from Canada Life Center. It is there as well. We'll talk to you soon, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You bet. There's Connor Hrabchak. Now, we've got a huge game tonight, our huge slate of games tonight in the NHL. We'll get to those in the Coolbet lines in just a moment, but we've got a little bit more from Scott Arniel, who spoke before the team got on the plane. Obviously, everyone wondering what is up with Mark Scheifele. We've talked about it, but this is how Arniel broke the news of no Scheifele in St. Louis for Game 6.
Yeah, he won't be coming on the trip. So I'll leave it at that. So
how disappointing is that?
Oh, extremely. You're hoping that maybe for the best you wake up today and things are better, but right now he won't be making the trip, and we'll see. We'll just go day to day after moving forward.
Is this the protocol thing?
I'm not going down that road. No.
All right. Need to know basis. We and the assembled media don't need to know other than Mark Scheifele won't be there. So what does that mean for the lineup? What does that mean for the center situation for Game 6? Here's what Arnie had to say about that.
Well, certainly not having him is going to be huge. But at the end of the day, last night our 3 centermen had to step up and play big minutes. Did a great job. Lau, Vladdy, and Bear. We'll throw another centerman in here for tomorrow and kind of take away a little bit of that workload. But so proud of the group, how everybody stepped up. That's kind of what our team has done all year, that when guys go down, other guys step in, and it's going to be just as large tomorrow. We did the job last night. Now we got to turn around and do it again.
All right, so there is Scott Arniel on where things are at. Now, where things are at with the league, no call, no disciplinary action, supplemental discipline from NHL player safety. The coach was asked about the lack of a call to the Blues and Braden Shen from the league. Here's what he had to say on that.
You know what? Obviously, I vented myself last night. We've talked to the league. Like I said, we've been talking. There's a supervisor that's here every day, so they know how we feel. We've passed on our message, and we hope that those things don't happen. But I'm not saying we're going out to retribution, but we got to win a hockey game. So however that comes about, we got to get it done.
This is maybe the kind of hockey the league wants at playoff time. I think it's entertaining, maybe.
We saw obviously we saw what's going on in Florida and Tampa. Tampa, sort of the similar kind of looks. But this is playoff hockey. A lot of this stuff goes on. It's tough. It's tough to manage. It's tough to ref. It's tough to coach. But it is. That's why everybody talks about the playoffs. It's a totally different animal in itself. It takes on a whole new life, and it's pressure on players, coaches, referees, the league. So it's just move on. We're on. We know where we're at right now. We know Scheifele won't be with us for tomorrow's game. Now we just got to focus on winning that next one.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel on the Scheifele situation, the league, Braden Shen, and certainly a calmer Scott Arniel after you could see how angry he was post-game, and anyone that was watching him on the bench knew that I don't think he could have gotten much more hotter on the bench last night. Thank God we don't have to wait another 3 days for a game 6. It's tomorrow night, and there were 3-day breaks between the last 3 games. This is a more quick turnaround. Arnie was asked just about the quick turnaround going into game 6 compared to the rest of this series so far.
I don't think so. I mean, I think that, that St. Louis, that they felt that this is now their style that they're going to try to beat us with, and they're not going to change. I mean, they continue to do what they're doing. I think that we were really, really good at Jet hockey last night for 60 minutes, and that to me is, real positive. And however the game takes its there's a lot on the line. So however it takes its own kind of, I don't know, as a role or how it kind of plays itself out is going to be, the players getting out there and, doing what they're doing. I think you got to be obviously cautious about certainly taking penalties at the wrong time, doing things that harm your hockey club. But for us, we don't change how we're going into this. We're going into, to do what we do best and get it going right from the very beginning of the game like we did last night. And hopefully that's enough to get us right to the end.
All right, and one more from Coach Scott Arniel. He was asked, listen, they just want to win a game number 6 and avoid having to play game 7 at home on Sunday. But here's what the coach had to say when asked on what would be ideal for a performance from his squad tomorrow night.
Like, this is going to be a meat and potato kind of, work zone to zone, get out of our zone, get through that neutral zone, and then make them play, spend some time in their end of the rink. Not having Nick, not having, Scheif kind of knocks out a couple of your top 6 players. So this is straightforward, grind it out, kind of, work for it, fight for every inch, and get those greasy goals a lot like we scored last night.
All right, so there's the coach from the tarmac today before the team left to St. Louis for tomorrow's 7 o'clock start. We will be all over it tomorrow on a big edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, and Mike McIntyre of the Free Press, kind enough to join us as well tomorrow from St. Louis. All right, I'm going to bring Remo in and get to the cool bet lines, but couple things to get to right off the bat before we do that. It's May, and guess what, gang? That means baseball season is here. So looking forward to another great season with Winnipeg Sports Talk and the Winnipeg Goldeyes. Some big news yesterday that's a blow to the team, but a great story. Dason Crows of the Goldeyes, who was back with the club, had his contract picked up by the San Francisco Giants. So, another great story of a player coming to Winnipeg, starring with the Goldeyes, and getting a chance to get back into affiliated ball with the dream of making it to the big league. So congratulations to Dason. The preseason game today in Fargo has been canceled. Fish finishing up their training camp, heading out as they continue down south to get things ready for the opener down in Cleburne, Texas. We'll continue going down there, and we'll look forward to the home opener for the Winnipeg Goldeyes Tuesday, May 20th against Milwaukee at Blue Cross Park. And do not forget, we'll have these dates for you hopefully firmed up next week for our WST patio party like we did last year. And I think we're going to add a couple other group days so you can bring kids, bring families later on in the season. But first up, we're going to bang out another fun patio party like we did last year and had so many fun times with all of our WST listeners. So stay tuned for that. Goldeyes.com for groups. If you want to get a corporate outing or booking for those patio decks, suites, and more, Andrew's great staff down at the ballpark would love to take care of you. Great to have the Gold Eyes back for another season. And speaking of back for another season, I am ready to go toe-to-toe with Michael Remis once again in our head-to-head picks for Assiniboia Downs this year. Now, we've all been so caught up in this playoffs. The track is about to be back. May 13th, Tuesday, is opening day for 2025 live racing, and they've stretched it out a little bit more this year. We're going from May 13th all the way to the 8th of October. Now, there won't be as many Monday race days this year. We'll be going consistently Tuesday, Wednesday throughout the year, with just looking at about 6 or 7 Mondays added in. But normally the racing season ends kind of early September, going all the way to October 8th this year. So cannot wait for our daily picks for live racing, and cannot wait to get back to the track. And this weekend is the Kentucky Derby. So tomorrow on the program, when we're done getting ready for Game 6, our pal Kirk Contois will join us and give us a few of his picks for the big race, the Running of the Roses, on Saturday down in Kentucky. Assiniboia Downs, or asdowns.com for more information on everything going on out at the track. But mark it down, opening day for live racing is May 13th out at Assiniboia Downs. And a quick Breezy Bend golf report as well. Cannot wait to get out. Man, can you believe 27 and sunny on Sunday? Hopefully the Jets can take care of business tomorrow night, and it'll give a perfect day for everyone to maybe get their first round in of the year. They're down in Texas at the Byron Nelson, the CJ Cup. Rico Hoey with the lead, 8 under 63 for his first round. Stefan Jaeger, Cam Champ, Michael Thorbjornsson, all at 7 under. And oh my God, Scotty Scheffler is 7 under par through 9 holes. 5 birdies and an eagle for 29 going out today. Is the 59 watch on? I guess we'll pay attention to that. We'll stay in touch. Just looking to see Canadians. Mac Hughes with a nice opening round. He's tied for 6th at 6 under par. Adam Svensson, Coolbet's Adam Svensson, he's at 4 under, tied for 22nd. And Taylor Pendrith, 2 under through 8 right now, down at the CJ Cup. Breezy Bend hosting the Manitoba Open this year. If you do want information on making one of Winnipeg's top private courses your home, give our pal Corey Johnson and get information on getting on that waiting list. You can get all the information on Breezy Bend over at breezybend.ca. All right, let's get Remo back in here. We do have to get to the Coolbet lines. Big night of hockey tonight, Reem. And we can all exhale after the big Game 5 win for the Winnipeg Jets. Fired up again tomorrow for Game 6 from St. Louis. But I am incredibly intrigued. This could end up being, with 4 games, all potentially deciding games or forcing Game 7. When you look at the matchups, Leafs Sens, Kings Oilers, Stars Avs, Golden Knights Wild, this could be one of the best hockey watching days of the entire Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And how great was it a couple nights ago where you had Stars Avs and you had Leafs Sens, you had Kings Oilers. I mean, Knights Wild been a great series as well. So it's going to be tough to follow up the excitement of what was it, Tuesday night, Hustler? But I'm looking forward to seeing which teams go home tonight and which teams go on to Game 7.
Yeah, well, we're hoping to avoid a Game 7 in the our series against the Blues, but I'm here for it. Let me ask you this, just before we dive into the actual betting lines over with our friends at Coolbet. If you had to, who do you think is the most likely team to win their game tonight? Of any of the 8 teams, if you had to put $10 down on a team to win, who are you most confident gets the win tonight?
Well, I was gonna say Colorado. They're the biggest favorite. You know what? I'm actually shocked Minnesota's plus 140 with the way that they've played that series. It's been very
live
tight.
Dog tonight. Live dog.
If I had to put a wager, it would probably be on Minnesota to take this thing 7. I'm going to go
with
Minnesota.
The value. No, but I mean, if you were just doing like a survivor pool or something like that, like do you think Colorado, if you just had to bet a team to win, like regardless of odds, is Colorado the most likely team to win? That would, of course, force a Game 7 in Dallas.
Them or Edmonton, I think. If
I'm with you on that.
Them or Edmonton, I think you can flip a coin. LA looked really bad. Like I'd rather bet against the Kings than bet against Dallas, who just won. The Kings.
That's not a bad
terrible.
point. Yeah, the Kings they were so cooked in that last game at home.
Jim Hiller sunk them with that challenge. They never recovered.
Never gonna live that one down, I don't think.
It's gonna be hung over for half the year next year. If only we didn't have that challenge. And it's so funny when the Jets had the empty netter on Binnington last night. How good a job did the Jets players do chipping it out past the blue line? No Byfield hero moments from Mason Appleton or any of those guys. I kept thinking it every time. They did such a great job getting it out.
All right, let's fire it up. The cool bet lines for tonight. Man, there's a lot of great stuff waiting for us. If you like to put a little sprinkle down on the games, 4 games tonight, all Game 6. The Toronto Maple Leafs get their third crack at finishing off the Ottawa Senators. Our group chat with myself, Pat, and Jake was something for the last few days. The Jet fans were freaking out. Leaf fans are on the ledge right now, understandably so. Ottawa's playing with house money and are back at home as a slight favorite tonight to push this series to a 7th and deciding game. Ottawa is minus 115. The Leafs right around even money at minus 102 for the game tonight. Total in the game is 5.5. Michael just mentioned the Minnesota Wild, who have been all that Vegas can handle. I mean, if it weren't for a very dumb offside on Ryan Hartman's seemingly winning goal, this could be an opportunity for Minnesota to move on, but they're trying to stay alive. Plus 140 tonight, playing at home, are the Wild. The Vegas Golden Knights, a minus 164 favorite. I'm kind of with Reem. I like the Wild in this one, and I think we could be getting a 7th heaven in Sin City for game number 7. The Stars and Avalanche, as Michael mentioned, the Avs are the biggest favorite on the board tonight, and I think the most sure thing. They are at they've actually just gone up from minus 192 to minus 196 right now. Dallas is plus 165. I think we're getting 7 games in the Stars Avs. Well, the big question is, will we get 7 games in both of the Central Division matchups? So Colorado at minus 196, and then Kings Oilers, Edmonton at minus 169, Kings plus 143. I'm with you though, Rio. I'm surprised that this number isn't bigger for the Oilers, just considering the way they manhandled LA in Los Angeles in their last game out. We'll see how the killer instinct is for Edmonton, because I don't think they want to get back on a plane and go to LA. And if they play anything like they did on in game number 5, as long as Darcy Kemper isn't as brilliant as he was, the expected goals in that game were 8-1. And that's an accurate depiction of that game. Could have easily been an absolute blowout. Just looking here, if we like Minnesota, Avalanche, and Oilers tonight, comes out to plus 477. Like, to me, this Leafs-Sens game is a bit of a coin flip. We know who the pressure is on, but I mean, I don't think would be unreasonable to think the Leafs could go in and kind of stare down their demons like the Jets did last night and get a win. But man, it sure would be fun. Not only just to have game 7, because what hockey fan doesn't like game 7s, but the discourse around Toronto and the GTA and the hockey world that this one goes to 7 will be all-time good.
Yeah, we're hearing all the numbers about the Leafs' record in elimination games, and I think back to, I mean, you can pick a series. the one that stands out for me, the missed opportunity, was when they lost to Montreal in the Canadian division, and Austin Matthews, stat line in elimination games, not great. And yeah, I really want Ottawa win just for the Game 7 and all the narratives that come with it. So, that's the one with the tightest odds. Interestingly enough, Ottawa -115, Maple Leafs -102. So Ottawa, very slight favorite at home, which is amazing considering what you thought about the series heading into it.
Okay, let's get to some series prices. You can still bet the series. The Leafs are -400 to win the series. Ottawa is 3-1. It kind of feels like this is Game 7. Like if this goes back to Toronto and the Leafs are 0-3 and trying to finish off the Sens, I don't know if they get it done. They have to get it done tonight. If you do like Ottawa, though, to pull off the incredible comeback, you can get 3-1 right now. Dallas, Colorado. Dallas is -208 favorites for the series. Avalanche +170. I actually think there's real value with the Avs here. I think that they win this game tonight. And that game will be a pick'em probably if it goes to 7 in Dallas. So if you like the Avalanche, tonight and in this series, I think +170 is great value right now. You can get that at CoolBet in the series prices. The Wild are +550 dogs in the series. Vegas -833. The Oilers, who were +375 after they lost the first 2 games, they're now -385. Kings are 3-1 to come back in the series. And the Jets St. Louis Blues series has the Jets at -500 favorites. The Blues +375 after the Jets' convincing win last night in Game 5. And we do have odds on Washington, Carolina, which is going to get going next Tuesday. I'll be honest, this doesn't make sense to me, Remis, and I guess we've been talking about that with how much the bookies have loved Carolina all year. But the Caps with home ice +134 underdogs to Carolina's -164. Are you on board thinking that Carolina is a significant favorite in this, or you think it should maybe be closer to a pick'em like where I'm at?
Wow, so I thought maybe closer. I'm on Money Puck, and they have Carolina at 15% to win the Cup, and the Caps at 7.6, so I guess they see it the same way as the odds makers. Carolina, I like Carolina. Sebastian Aho's really stepped up. I think questions in goaltending. Freddie Anderson left with an injury. Kochetkov came in the last game and was solid. Carolina's deep. They got solid defense. But Washington, they were number 1 all year. Maybe there's a bit more inexperienced. Carolina's, been past the first round 7 years in a row. Like, is this the year where everyone's off Carolina and they finally make a run to the Cup final? We'll have to see. But if you're getting the top team in the conference at +134 seems like a decent value.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the Leafs-Sens game tonight. I'm not going to bet that one, but I am going to put together Wild at +140, Avalanche -196, Oilers -172. Pop those in, and it's a +473 parlay. And to be honest, I like Edmonton and Colorado significantly more than their opponents tonight, and I did go puck line for both of those. So Avs and Oilers both to win by 2 or more. That's at +461. So I just put those in together. Maybe we'll get them up in the combo cards if the guys have time to throw those up. But if you want to jump on that, +461 on Avs Oilers puck line parlay, and then +473 on Avs Oilers Wild money line parlay. NBA, poor Dusty, his Lakers have bit the dust. They are no more, losing to Ant and the T-Wolves in 5. Tonight, the Knicks are on the road to take on the Detroit Pistons. Pistons robbed in games 3 and 4 by very poor officiating. Can they get it to 7? I guess we'll see. They're a slight favorite tonight, 1.5 points, or -119 on the money line. And then later on tonight, huge game between the Nuggets and the Clippers. Game 6 in that series. Clips of 6.5-point favorites, minus 263 on the money line. The Nuggets plus 215 to move on. Tomorrow, we'll get the next Game 6 between the Rockets and Warriors in Golden State. Steph and the boys looking to move on. And we've got odds already. This is not going to start till Sunday. Pacers, Cavs. Cavs, a big favorite in the series, minus 625. And a big favorite in game number 1. 8 points and minus 345. What a show today. I think there was a few tired people in the chat and probably in offices around, and certainly at WSTHQ with all the work you did afterwards, Reem, and we just kind of trying to take in all of the content after a little bit of celebrating last night. But right back at it tomorrow, which will be, I'm sure, one of the biggest shows of the year as we count down to the Winnipeg Jets, St. Louis Blues, Game 6 tomorrow in St. Louis. No Mark Scheifele. We'll be looking for the team to step up like they did yesterday in one of the most impressive performances of the entire season.
The Vlad game. What a game for him. And he's had some nice moves, some nice plays. Wasn't getting on the score sheet, and I think he's had a nice series, Huss, and he's shown he's got some hands. I remember the deke he made to set up Mason Appleton in Game 1, and he had that spin move last night that was called offside, but he must have been feeling it or something. Like he 2-on-1 with Kyle Connor. You think, oh, the move is to pass it to the team scorer. Takes it himself, beats the goalie, but doesn't get it into the wide open net. Incredible play, incredible performance in a Game 5. Yeah, where Mark Scheifele out, and you're like, who's going to step up? And I had a lot of flashbacks to, it was the game against Vegas. Was it Game 3 where Morrissey was injured and Neil Pionk had like the craziest game? Like, who you've seen legendary playoff performances by a couple of Winnipeg Jets the last couple of years, even if they didn't advance past the first round. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I wonder if Vlad sold a couple extra jerseys at Royal Sports with what he did last night in that Game 5. What a game for him.
Hey, listen, before we go, I gave, Connor and I were talking about it, just giving, a lot of credit to the fans that were there last night. Can you pull up that Kevin Hayes clip? It'd be a cool way to finish up this show. Now, this is from Spittin' Chicklets. And like Whitney and Biz, Whitney's, former Oiler, big Oiler guy. Biz is the head of the Leafs Nation right now. And they had former Jet Kevin Hayes on. And of course, Kevin Hayes was part of the 2019 run against these Blues, had the infamous spot in Game 5 last time out, where the puck was basically pulled off the goal line to prevent the Jets from going up 3-0. They ended up losing that game and losing in 6. But he was asked about playing in Winnipeg. And I think this was originally started off as a dig at Leafs fans for turning on their team and how that arena often becomes a bit of a library. But considering Hayes' time in Winnipeg was so short, this answer on Winnipeg fans, I thought was really interesting and something a lot of Jet fans would want to hear. This is a clip from Spittin' Chicklets of Kevin Hayes talking about playing in the whiteout, and with a side ricochet shot for Biz and Leaf fans.
Peg, we've talked many times about the pressure in Canada. Is that a fan base that after the first period, if they're down 1-0, is it going to be similar to Toronto where the crowd gets on them and the crowd gets anxious? Or is that more a city where it's let's build these guys up? Let's not turn on them right now. They need us.
100%. Let's build these guys up. They're not Leaf fans and Biz fans. That whiteout was the coolest experience I've ever had in my NHL career. And now that they're tied 2-2, they're going back for Game 5. That Game 5 might be the best game in playoffs, in all the playoffs. It really will be. Kyle Connor will probably score. Hellebuck, hopefully he's good. And then you got my boy Robbie Thomas will probably have a couple points too.
You should go to it if you like it so much.
Yandel with a bit of a shot afterwards. But anyways, I thought that was really cool and a great way to finish the show, because as incredible as the team was when they had to be, so was that 15,000 at the building last night. And hoping the next time we put the Whites on for a game there is in round 2. But we'll find out tomorrow night whether we're back there in what will be summer conditions in Winnipeg on Sunday, looking to be sunny and 27 for a potential Game 7. But good stuff from Kevin Hayes on his brief time as a Winnipeg Jet and what it was like playing in the whiteout. Listen, great stuff from Reem today, getting all those clips, and of course a late night last night for the fellas. If you haven't checked out their post-game report, get over there now. Leave a comment as well. A big thanks to Scooch, Wiebe, and of course Connor for jumping on today. Tomorrow's going to be huge, folks. Join us at 1 o'clock. We will be all over Jets Blues. Mike McIntyre is going to join us from St. Louis, which is very, very nice of him to do. We'll have Ruicki jump on. We'll probably check in on the Blues as well. And we will do a little derby preview with our pal Kirk Contois from Assiniboia Downs. Get some rest, everybody. Huge night of hockey. Enjoy it. Again, all those lines we just hit available over at CoolBet. If you haven't played there before and you want to, use the promo code WST when you're making your first deposit. Hook you up with a 100% bonus up to $200 on that first deposit. I think there's going to be a few teams moving on, Oilers being one of them. But can we get 7 in Dallas, Colorado? We'll find out tonight. Can the Wild push things back to Vegas? And will the Ottawa Senators live to see Game 7 and make those callers in the GTA even tighter? Going to be a great night of hockey, and tomorrow it's all about Jets Blues. Join us at 1 right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great night, everyone, and thanks for listening.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.